British summertime just wouldn't be the same without a trip here. For over 70 years, Silverstone has welcomed those brave enough to push the limits at this grand old track. To win here means a lot to any driver, but to a British driver, it means that little bit more. This place is steeped in history, but today, a new chapter will be written. 6 fearless British drivers have fought their way to start on this grid, and 3 of them sit right at the top of the championship.
Lights out, W Series is underway.
But to win here is no easy feat. You must respect this historic track. You must go into battle.
Jamie Chadwick's been hit!
And you must beat some of the best drivers from around the world. This is where the best come to compete. This is where Silverstone meets W Series. It's a scorching day here at Silverstone and the fans are out in force. We've got qualifying coming up in just a moment and you'll be in the capable hands of Alex Jakes.
Thanks, Lee. W Series could not have planned this any better. The championship arrives at the British Grand Prix with 3 home heroes leading the standings. Jamie Chadwick knows what it's like to lead a championship. Of course, she won the inaugural title. Then it's Sarah Moore in 2nd place and Alice Powell, a race winner this year, in 3rd. And there'll be plenty for this huge crowd to cheer on what is a sweltering day. Track temperature is 46 degrees. Air temperature is 25. Everyone so enthusiastic to go racing at the British Grand Prix. So before we get to qualifying, looking at the paddock, which is inside the fan zone here, we've arrived at Silverstone where we have the race tomorrow. Then we go on to the Hungaroring, to Belgium, to Zandvoort. Everyone looking forward to the finale as well in America and Mexico. And before the half an hour of qualifying, show you the standings with Jamie Chadwick on top, ahead of Sarah Moore, and then Alice Powell. Senakova's excellent podium launched her up to 4th, and then it's Fulvend, Kimmerleinen, Belen Garcia in 7th, Maria Marti is in 8th, and the top 10 rounded out by Bruno Tomaselli and Miki Kiyama. You can see the remaining point scorers: Abby Eaton, Garcia Rodest, Eileen Agren, and then Pazka Visser, unusually having been a championship contender in season 1 without a point to her name after 2 incident-packed races. So here's the circuit, 5.8 kilometers, 3.66 miles. We will be having half an hour of qualifying before getting to a race length that's exactly the same, plus the 1 lap. It's not going to be one that they're forced to go out. It's not one where they have to put a brave face on it. This is one of the best circuits anywhere on Earth, and it is an expectant pit lane as we make our way down underneath the Silverstone wing. And we await a green light at the end of the pit lane to get this session underway. Great to have your company for what is the 3rd qualifying session of the year. We've already seen pole positions for Jamie Chadwick and Alice Powell. Not only that, they converted them into victory on those Hankook tyres with this hugely exciting car. The Tatus Formula 3 car to the latest FIA F3 specification with a 4-cylinder turbocharged engine, providing them with about 270 horsepower. That is made by Alfa Romeo. Looking down at Sidakova in the pit lane. So it was interesting, they've had half an hour of practice very early on. The main takeaway from that practice session, track limits. We don't want to bang on about track limits that much, but they could be defining. Earlier on in practice, there was a delay before the lap times were deleted. The lap times right now, we're up and running on the Grand Prix weekend. They're going to go the moment that they cross track limits at turn 9 and turn 15, better known to you and I as Copse Corner and Stowe Corner. And that could be a weekend ruiner. That is the difference between a real lap of quality that puts you at the head of the field and then the disappointment of having to fight your way back through. And it is a long lap here. It is one where you've got to make the moves decisively. And how good is it to see the cars on the circuit? We've had the practice session, and now we are out there with this new team format for 2021. There is the championship leader. There is the reigning champion, Jamie Chadwick, bringing her Veloce entry out onto the circuit. And earlier on, so the main takeaway from practice was all about the track limits. There will be no delay. The fuel consumption looking good out there. And Balan Garcia was reprimanded for not following the correct procedure which practice starts. Those were the main headlines from the 30 minutes. It's a change from the 2019 season to 2021. We check in with Emma Kimmelainen. Emma Kimmelainen had a bit of a season that Bajska is having in the 2019 campaign. Had the injury, had to miss a few races. It was very impressive back in 2019. Well, she's fully in contention. Had the non-point scoring finish at the start of the year on the podium for the Finnish driver. Now, the shape of this qualifying session that we've seen so far is you've got to build the lap time. You've got to consistently build the speed all the way through. As we check in with Fabian Volvend, the driver who was originally a banker before giving it all up and deciding to focus full-time on W Series. That is possible because of the prize money paid out. The winner this year will get $500,000 for taking the championship. So it is great to be at the British Grand Prix. The drivers building tyre temperature before they begin their push laps. It's a pretty good time to check in for the first time with Amy Reynolds. Hi, Amy.
Hi, Alex. How are you doing up there?
Yeah, very well, very well. Delighted to finally be behind the microphone for W Series.
It's great to have you with us. Just really wanted to check in about tyres. So we know with W Series they have 2 sets of tyres over the course of the weekend. What we saw from those first 2 qualifying sessions is rather different strategies when it comes to choosing when to come back into pit lane and change onto fresh tyres. Something we can really keep an eye on in this session. We actually heard from one of the engineers in the previous race that he advised his driver, whilst the grip is still there, just stay out until you really need to come back in for those fresh tyres. So it'll be interesting to see when our fastest lap comes in this session.
Yeah, the tactics are going to be absolutely crucial, Amy. You're absolutely right about that. And intriguingly, with this new team format, as we see the 2 Scuderia teammates overtaking, Sarah Moore going ahead of Balan Garcia, we see the 2 teammates on track. They're going to be with an engineer all the way through. So you're not going to get what you had in 2019, where you had a different engineer every single time you rocked up at the racetrack. And that relationship between driver and engineer is so very important for the reason, one of the many reasons that Amy's just alluded to there. Knowing if a driver can build that speed, knowing if a driver can extract, Lewis Hamilton style, can extract the rubber from the last of the Hankook tyres. That is going to be so important even in this 30-minute session. So times beginning to be posted on the board. Earlier on, Alice Powell was fastest of anyone in the practice session, but these times are going to drop. And Alice was saying there's a lot of time to be found out there. What will be extremely helpful is the Formula 2 rubber has been laid down, the Formula 1 rubber has been laid down, so this is a much grippier racetrack than they faced bright and early at about 9:35 this morning, local time. Let's go as the fast laps begin to be posted. Let's check in once again with Amy down in the paddock.
Well, we're just watching Fabienne Volven on screen at the moment. I had the pleasure of catching up with her earlier after a really strong practice session. She had a bit of a shaky Austria 2 after obviously being on the podium in Austria 1. And she just said it's kind of, she's got experience here, as we know in the past from her sports car background, but also the fact that at the moment she's just really, really gelling with that car, the feeling that she did not have in Austria 2. Bit of work to do in Sector 2, namely turns 9 and turns 12. So she's definitely got some margin, but it will be really interesting to see where she places on the grid after this qualifying session.
It will indeed. Fastest first sector of anyone so far. Number 21, that's Jess Hawkins, teammate of Alice Powell in the top 3 in the championship, as we continue to focus on the bunker entry of Fabienne Volvent. Car number 5. Hawkins going very nicely in the first sector, but it's being bettered out there by Emma Kimmerleinen. So Jamie Chadwick currently fastest on a 1:59.3. Then it's Abby Pulling, the British driver who you will have seen making her debut in the championship. She's 18 years of age, and a strange dynamic between Alice Powell and Abby Pulling, because it's apprentice and master on the same racetrack. Time found out there for Fabienne Volven to take the fastest time at the moment. It's going to build all the way through. It's why the timing page, is why the graphic at the bottom of your screen is an absolute sea of improving sectors. Over the line goes Hawkins up to 5th place. Her teammate is going faster still behind, as is Jamie Chadwick. Sarah Moore, fastest qualifier at the moment for the Scuderia entry, and that is Alice Powell abandoning, having set the fastest middle sector of anyone so far. That is Alice Powell abandoning the lap and coming into the pits with a few drivers have done that. Jamie Chadwick, he's not one of them. British driver, absolutely loving being on home soil, part of the Williams development program as well. Comes over the line looking for the fastest time, finding the fastest time, and it is a Veloce 1-2, at least it was. Emma Kimmerleinen's done something about it. And it's Chadwick, Kimmerleinen, Tomaselli, then Moore, Kayama, the top 5, Volvend, Garcia, Hawkins, Pulling, and Sidakova, the top 10 at the moment. Yet to see a representative lap time set by Agron. We'll keep an eye on why that is. No, she's just gone over the line to set the 16th fastest time, and now we've seen everyone in the field show a lap time. Maybe it's not the best out there. Only a driver to have a time to lead, it was Belen Garcia, but that was not on a fastest lap from Belen Garcia to her teammate in picture at the moment, Sarah Moore, who in 2019 combined her racing in the W Series with an entry in the Ginetta Cup, the G50 category, and leading her teammate down the famous Hanger Straight. So 1:58.5 the time to beat. Chadwick is improving in Sector 1. Tomaselli, 3rd place, improving in Sector 1 as well, as was Sarah Moore, but she did not like the middle part of the lap, and she has bailed out of it very early on indeed. As we check in with Abby Pulling, 18 years of age, coached by the driver that she's up against. Very close indeed, Alice Powell and Abby Pulling. At the moment, Abby Pulling will be delighted with that timing page. Alice Powell was on a much faster lap, but maybe a mistake, maybe deciding to go different way tactics-wise. 21 minutes to go. So Chadwick, Kimmerleinen, Tomaselli, Moore, Kayama. Vicky Piria has gone up from 18th position to 8th in the standings at the moment. The Italian driver has a personal best on the grid of 5th place, so I'm happy to put it into the top 10. There's such a long gap in between seasons for the W Series. One of the great things about this championship is it has resurrected so many careers that, due to a lack of funding, had just had to stop. We've been talking about the driver in the top 3 of the championship, 1 place behind Sarah Moore, who you're looking at the moment. Alice Powell, number 27, going out back onto the racetrack. She was fitting houses with her father in the middle because she needed the work, and she had to find something to do in that year off. She's a driver that had clear ability, the first point scorer in GP3, but didn't have the funding to continue. And now so many racing stories that would have come to an end are continuing at the British Grand Prix. It's one of many brilliant things about this series. as we see some drivers deciding to extend that run a little bit later. Vicky Perrier is one of them, currently in 8th place and finding time. Amy talking about it earlier on in the session, finding time on this rubber. If you can extract it late on, gives you a chance just to build that foundation. Remember what we've seen in Formula 1 so far this year, where you've got to get the banker laps in to give you that foundation to attack later on. At the moment, the championship leader is the fastest qualifier. We've got a long way to go though. Long way, lots of improvement, track at its grippiest. How will they use the sets of tyres that they are allowed? Brilliant to see so many fans in the grandstand. Around that final corner we go. Over the line. And up to 3rd place. So that's a real improvement for Vicky Perrier, who is now up to 3rd. Let's dive back into the strategy once again with Amy.
Amazing to see Vicky get up there, Alex, after the first 2 races didn't really go her way. She also had that grid penalty last time out as well to boot. But yeah, back on strategy, because we've got quite a few drivers coming in already for new tyres. Now, one thing we've noticed is that, as we previously mentioned, these Hankook tyres do take a while to come in. And as we also know, they all have to start on a full fuel load. So perhaps there are a few people there thinking, right, let's get these new tyres on as early as possible and wait for them to come in, at which point we've got less fuel in the tank. It's going to be so fascinating to see if anybody decides to go on a different strategy to the first 2 previous races.
That will be very interesting indeed. 18 minutes to go. Vicky Perrier has had her time deleted. Not the only one. Miki Koyama's had it as well. That is for going too wide at Copse Corner. So it's all on the exit of Copse. So we check in with Abby Eaton. And Agran has gone up to P5 as the debrief begins in the pit lane. So we are seeing that split strategy. So Alice Powell, fastest earlier on in the practice session. Only practice session that they get, it was a 1:57.0. Did 30 laps in an exactly identical half-an-hour session to this one that they've got. You can see she's weaving to generate the tyre temperature on the Wellington straight. Gives us a chance to check in with Ilya Agran, who is finding time on the Hankook rubber at this stage. Neatly through as well. Another improvement in the first sector. 37.3 in the first sector. Wasn't using anywhere near the exit curb. So if this is a personal best, it could indicate that the balance is looking really nice right now. Personal best as well, and she was nowhere near the exit curve of Copse Corner. That's a confident driver who's improved playing yourself in to this session. I know they're slightly later. Let's see what she can do. Feeding her way round the long Stowe corner. Stand on the brakes by the time that you get to Vale. How early dare you get on the power? See her soaring away at the steering wheel. It's been neat, it's been tidy. Has it been fast? Let's find out across the line. Losing a little bit in that final sector. The tyres pleading for the grip. Here's Sidakova. Currently in 12th position. The Russian driver who has a 2-year program with the academy team, fully funded, and there's nothing like a little bit of job security for a couple of years to give you the confidence to push, and that's exactly what we saw last time out, with 2nd place in our 2nd race in Austria. Marta Garcia is going nicely in sectors 1 and 2. Lots of improvement being found out there. This order very likely to change as we get to the halfway stage. Marta Garcia breaks herself into the top 10. It's a driver who's previously been on pole in the W Series back at the Norris Ring, and that's an opening lap effort to go up to 10th position. Improvement in the first sector, improvement in the second sector for driver number 51. Great idea of the speed, wonderful view. Always loved that view coming out of Stowe Corner and then into the chicane. It's a great place if you ever find yourself in that grandstand or inside. Sidakova's going over the line. What can she do when you add it all together? Up to 6th position. Alice Powell, fastest earlier on in practice, is doing the same thing when it matters in qualifying, albeit with half the session to go. We join the number 27, that number that's got so many historical references. Asked Alice earlier in the year, is there a particular driver why you chose 27 for? She said no. She's writing her own history with that number. Carrying proudly the British flag onto the hanger straight. Looks quick, is quick through Maggots and Beckett. 0.4 of a second up on the current provisional pole time that belongs to Jamie Chadwick. Jamie Chadwick's just left the pits. Agron again improving on the rubber. She is finding a way to just build momentum. She's into the top 3. Alice Powell interested in the top 3, specifically P1. Here we go, around the final corner. Could be the fastest time of the session so far for Alice Powell, who cuts the beam and goes P1 by just shy of half a second. A brilliant lap from the British driver. It's a Brit 1-2 at the moment. Let's check in once again with Amy.
Marta Garcia is also on another personal best. Alex, as we know as well, she needs to get herself as far up the grid as possible because she's carrying a 3-place grid penalty over from Austria 2 with that incident with Gosha Rades. She is also one of our 2019 winners who is yet to score any points.
Yeah, contrasting fortunes from the first season to the second. That lap will help though, up to P4. Agron down to P5 once again. Sidakova, will she choose to continue? She will, not improving in the first couple of sectors of the lap. So it's a all-British front row at the moment. And Alice Powell going quicker still on the second lap. Fastest of anyone so far. Is there a time improvement when you add it all up? No, so that might be a cool-off lap. There might be a lap to back off before she charges again. Right now, Bajtskevisa is the name confusing me in this order. Proven in this championship, down there in 15th position. Jess Hawkins.
Keep chipping, purple each sector, keep chipping.
So keep chipping away. Abby Pulling has gone up to 6th. Alice Powell going faster still, Amy.
Well, we're getting some information at the moment. Abby Eaton has come back into the pit. She was doing so well in practice earlier, but apparently she's having a ride height change, which could be a bit of a risky move. If they do not get her out on track earlier, you can see where she is on the timings at the moment. All that hard work done this morning could be a complete waste.
Yeah, risky, but if it's not working, this is a circuit where you need the confidence, you need the balance. It's the balance that Alice Powell has shown so far in the session, and she goes marginally faster still. With a 1:57.789, fastest of anyone in sector 1 and 3 on that lap. She's also posted the fastest middle sector of anyone in this session so far. Interesting that Abby Eaton has gone for that ride height change. That is in a half-hour session. That is an interesting call. Looking to get herself away from the back row of the grid. She scored points for the first time in the championship with a strong P6 last time out. And she has made it out of the pits. In the Akuri entry, her teammate Emma Kimalainen. And lap times being deleted, this one for Bajtskevisa. Vicky Piria has also had times deleted last time around. Vicky Koyama as well earlier in the session. So Vicky Piria not getting on at all with the exit of Cox Corner at the moment. Gone past that part of the racetrack as we check in with Fabian Volvent in the top 10. 11 minutes to go. You've got to go with the pace now. You've got to be showing it. If you're going to be a contender for the top 5, you've got to extract the tyres. Can you get them into the operating window where they're impressive? Jess Hawkins goes into P5. Koyama has gone into 7th position. And we are seeing purple sectors. And that means fastest of the session so far for the drivers. Sarah Moore needed a lap, got one, up to 5th, make that 6th because Bajtskevisa has improved to the front row. It's 3rd place for Fabian Volvend with the bunker entry, but going faster still. Fastest of anyone in Sector 1. Fastest of anyone in Sector 2 is Alice Powell. First of all, though, Emma Kimalainen, currently in P5, improving out there. By how much? Good enough for 4th. But can anyone live with this driver? This is that time from before was deleted. That last one over the line seems fine for the moment. Faster still for Alice Powell. And she has taken the Racing X team to the top of the timing page for the time being. 10 minutes to go. Marta Garcia is currently in 8th position. Abby Pulling, who went so well in testing, posted times in the top 5 before the season had begun. Marta Garcia improves her time, doesn't improve her position. Her teammate's position, outstanding on debut right now, in 6th place, just 0.7 of a second away from her mentor, who's been coaching her. And I've been in the commentary box when she's been dishing out some of that coaching. Alice Powell pulls no punches, I'll say that. And change to the front wing there. Jackie Perrier, who's had a couple of lap times deleted for going wide at the corner that Jamie Chadwick is in right now. And Marty has just improved up to 11th place. So Jamie Chadwick, the reigning champion, working the wheel through the iconic sequence of corners, first built in 1991 and adored the world over for the change of direction. Jess Hawkins back up to 6th position at the moment. Improvement in Sector 1, improvement in Sector 2 as Abby Pulling goes in to the top 5. Chadwick is improving. Hawkins improved last time around. Belen Garcia improves her time. Sarah Moore's just gone over the line to 7th position. What can Chadwick do? Can she put the pressure on the front row? That's where she'll be aiming. It's where Volvend has just gone over the line for the bunker team. And Jamie Chadwick looking for the front row, can't find it. It's an improvement in time. You can see not a personal best in Sector 3. The championship leader under a little bit of pressure. Here's the driver applying it. Currently P3 in the standings, but P1 on the timing page and just shaving that lap time even further with a 1:57.6. 8 minutes to go. Abby Eaton gambled on that ride height change. It's a second away, knocking on the door of the top 10. The former racing driver for the Grand Tour, now on the Grand Prix stage at Silverstone. Marta Garcia improving her lap times. There's plenty of people finding improvements out there, but not by enough to change their position. Abby and Volvend, 5th place in the standings, on the podium to start the year. Driver originally from Liechtenstein, racing under a Swiss license, not leaving much on the table through Beckett's. This is not the part of the session to be left wondering. And she is finding time. She has right now bridged the gap to Alice Powell, but some key corners to come. Middle sector, fastest of anyone so far. That's a 48.3. Powell, though, responding. First part of the lap faster than anyone has been so far. As the fuel burns off, as the drivers have the track at the grippiest that it has been all British Grand Prix Friday, who's going to put it at the front? Belen Garcia up to 7th place. Her teammate can't respond. She stays in 8th. They were line astern. How about Volvend, who just misses out by 14 thousandths of a second? That is the margin. Jamie Chadwick looking to improve in a sector where she couldn't hook it all up before. Let's see if she can. She can. Still not personal best. Sector 1, Sector 3, 5th place for the championship leader. Fastest of anyone, Sector 1. Fastest of anyone, Sector 2. Alice Powell in the grey and white car over the line, and she's 0.5 faster still to take out that gap to a mammoth 0.06 of a second between P1 and P2. Fine margins deciding pole position with 6 minutes to go. I love the format of this session with manipulating that Hankook rubber to just constantly go faster still. That is the driver that gets rewarded with pole position. It's not about just banging in a lap time, sitting in the pits, banging in another one. You've got to increase, you've got to find improvement time after time after time, and it's Powell who's just ahead of Volvend as we tick down into the final moments. Checking in with our provisional pole sitter. Took pole earlier in the year, looking to do so again, looking to do what she did the last time she took pole and check out. It's Powell, Volvend and Visser, the top 3. Let's go back downstairs to Amy.
Alex, I'm seriously impressed with Abby Pulling making her W Series debut this weekend. She is just on another personal best. Lost a bit in Sector 2, but I was actually having a chat with one of her engineers earlier, and they were saying, actually, Abby could be a dark horse for pole position. Apparently, she actually lost 9/10 on her fastest lap, changing gear too early, and in actual fact, she was actually only finished 7/10 off Alice Powell's time in practice earlier. So, yeah, definitely off. I thought I just saw Powell, thought I saw Pulling. But anyway, back to you, Alex.
Well, Powell's got a problem, and her name is Fabian Volvend. Currently on pole. Chadwick, can she find something? She's improving to 4th place. Doesn't seem to have the pace of Volvend or Powell. And we're talking about Abby Pulling because she's on debut. It's her first session in the W Series, and she has been mighty so far. Here's Abby Eaton, number 44 at Silverstone. Not improving that time around in the Curie entry. Marta Garcia in the Puma car is putting the pressure on. Here she is at the Vale. The gap between pole position. Just had a look at the timing page. Fabian Volver and Alice Powell separated by 0.02 of a second. We thought it was fine margins when it was 100th. It's now down to 0.02 between those two. Over the line for Marta Garcia. Improvement on the timing page, but she remains in P8. What a fantastic qualifying session. How befitting of this occasion. There were so many smiles when W Series visited Brands Hatch. A standout day, so many fans. And now, not thinking about the fans, not thinking about the occasion, only thinking about pole position for the race tomorrow. Alice Powell finding an answer in the first part of the racetrack. Fabian Volvend has not had a good first sector. She is not improving right now. And Alice Powell just absolutely clinging onto it on the exit of Copse Corner. But it was legal. It was 2 wheels on the racetrack. Her teammate has just improved her time in 10th position. Alice Powell looking a little bit of oversteer, a little bit of correction by the time that she got out of Beckett's and in to Chapel. But my word, it's fast. We're going to go from 0.02 to maybe more if she can link these final corners together. It's Volvend, Powell, Visser, Chadwick, Moore, Kimmerleinen, Pulling, Marty, then Garcia and Hawkins, the top 10. But are we going to see a change in position between Alice Powell, originally from Oxfordshire, looking to take pole position at her home race? It's been a mighty lap so far. Let's look to the time. Powell to the line, Powell to pole position by 0.3 of a second. And that's not chipping away, that is blowing away the competition with 2 minutes on the clock. The gauntlet has been thrown down there. And Agron currently in 13th, trying to take it across the line and break into the top 10. Personal best on the timing page. She remains in 13th position. And everyone else trying to bring those tyres back in, including Batska-Visser. She's just done a personal best in the first sector, but it's 0.3 of a second of what Alice Powell has managed. So she is improving. She's just trying to consolidate that 3rd place. Jamie Chadwick, not too far away, you can see 0.07 of a second between these two around a 3.36 mile racetrack, 5.8 kilometers. Visser using loads more of the exit curb than we saw in comparison to Alice Powell before, but P3 on the grid, totally different story. When you're not looking for 1 lap pace, you're just looking for outright speed, and she's taking the car up to its limit of 270 brake horsepower. A second covering the top 8 at the moment. Jamie Chadwick improving in the first sector. Jamie Chadwick a couple of tenths away from the ultimate pace in that first sector of Alice Powell. But personal best sector 1, personal best sector 2. So it's got to be a good lap for Batska-Visser because she's under pressure now. Car number 95, the Dutch driver, bringing it through Club Corner for the last time, looking for an improvement, not finding it, and will that leave her vulnerable to Jamie Chadwick behind? Here is Chadwick in the green Veloce entry. Kimmerleinen has gone up to P5. Chadwick goes up to P3 and takes that position away from Visser. Into the final moments. Who's timed it well? Who's got any tyres left? Can anyone take pole position away from Alice Powell, who put it all together when it mattered? And we're into the final 10 seconds. Who's going to pull it out? Can anyone find a lap to elevate themselves into the top 10 who really needs it? Improvements right now for Marty. Marty, right now, if she can continue that sort of pace through the final corners, gives her an opportunity to aim for P6. That's the limit, it appears, of what she's got underneath her. Marta Garcia will not start higher than 9th in the order. Sabre Cook has finished her qualifying session as well. Let's see if Marty can take that 6th position she's been looking for. No, yes she can. Yes she can at the end there. So she did maintain that pace. Jamie Chadwick, again, decent first sector. Not enough to rival the front row. Needs then a mighty middle. Can she find it when it matters? Checkered flag is out on the Hamilton straight. Chadwick looking to put pressure on Fabian Volvend for 2nd place. But that time is not going to do it at the moment. Not close there for the time being. Up to 13th place goes Vicky Piria. Chadwick is the only driver in the top 5 improving her time, and she seems to be running out of rubber at the moment. Fabian Volvend has no answer to Alice Powell, but what a fantastic session for her. She's on the brink of the top 2. Chadwick's time does not appear enough to displace her. Can she prove me wrong? Out of the final corner, across the line, and it's no improvement out there. And as they all filter through, you are looking at car 27. It belongs to Alice Powell, and Alice Powell at her home race has taken pole position with a mighty lap. It was fine margins, and then a 1:57.235 to finish top of the pile and take pole position for race number 3. A superb effort, and Racing X can dream of a 2nd victory. They have done the job. And that was superb stuff all the way through the session, building it all the way through. We thought it was going to come down to thousandths of a second. In the end, 0.3 of a second is a very, very handy margin indeed. Fabian Volvend, the only driver who could get close to Alice Powell today. At one point got that gap down to 0.2 of a second, but excellent stuff from her. And the driver who has been on pole position before, not quite enough today, but she will be delighted with that front row start for tomorrow's race. And the championship leader, Jamie Chadwick, starting in 3rd. There's Alice Powell drinking in the applause. It's such a knowledgeable crowd here. Let's hear from the pole position winner.
Good job, Alice. That's P1. Well done. Good job. Put it all together.
Oh, guys, thank you so much. Oh, thank you.
And I think that sounds more like relief than jubilation from Alice, but I think that will come later on. And as they make their way to the old pit lane, once used by Formula One, now the support race pit lane. Checking in with car number 19, Marta Garcia, who has put it in the top 10, but behind Abby Pulling, one of the stories of that session. On debut, inside the top 10, 0.9 of a second away from pole. And that was excellent stuff from Abby Pulling. Marta Garcia trying to re-establish herself in the championship, a race winner from 2019. But this was the lap, a 1:57.235 for Alice Powell, who stitched it together when it mattered most, used all of the track but within the limits, and by the time she got to the conclusion of the 3.66 miles, she had taken pole position for the 3rd race of the W Series season, I should say. Wonderful entertainment for the crowd. What a session, Amy.
What a session, but there's going to be disappointment among the field because Miki Koyama and Sabre Cook find themselves at the back of the grid again. Now, Miki Koyama last time out apparently had an issue in qualifying that then continued throughout the race. We actually saw her at one point come into the pits. So that doesn't really explain her performance today, but she really needs to get herself up there again because we know that she's one of the best chargers out of that field, and at the moment we've not seen any of that so far in 2021.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right, Amy. So it could be a long Saturday afternoon's work for Koyama and Sabre Cook, but at the front it's Alice Powell who's done the job in qualifying once again to take pole position. That is her second in W Series. Fabian Volvend down pace as we progress through the session, but not enough to take pole. She'll start from the front row. Championship leader Jamie Chadwick going from P3. But it was Powell and Volvend who were the class of the field. Then Chadwick, Visser, Kimmelainen, the top 5. Then it was Marty, Moore, Abby Pulling, an excellent 8th on debut. And she will be so pleased to get up and running at her home event. And then it's Marta Garcia, Jess Hawkins in the top 10, and then Belen Garcia in 11th, and Abby Eaton, Vicky Piria, Isla Agren, Bruna Tomaselli, and then Sidakova on the podium before. And Mickey back in Austria, disappointed to be down in 16th, and then it was Koyama and Cook in 18th. Well, thank you so much for your company for what was an enthralling session of qualifying for W Series. The great news is that we're going to go racing once again for the 3rd time in 2021 at this historic racetrack. It promises to be a thrilling half an hour. I hope you can join us tomorrow when W Series returns.